Welcome to PAB 2010.
This is the age in which passively receiving content has changed to actively connecting with communities. And that has profound implications for politicians, for companies selling goods and services, and for organizations, corporations, and consultants, a world that I know a little bit about. New platforms have been created, new communities of interest, more informed consumers, voters, and of course, a huge number of content creators. As the chair of BP might call you, the small people. No. I'll probably mention BP a few times tonight, by the way. It just seems to be everything they do and everywhere they turn. It's a cornucopia of disasters. But anyway, it does bring me now to the purpose of my remarks tonight, which is to explore what the changing world of social media and podcasting will mean for content creators such as you, as well as what those changes mean for news coverage, political campaigns, and managing issues. I'll also explore the good, the bad, and the ugly about communicating in this information-drenched world that we live in. And if you can't communicate, you'll be chewed up and spat out. Tony Hayward. First, what do we mean by content creators? Well, this is my take on the world of content creators. It's a pretty broad category, but of course it includes podcasters, bloggers, writers, journalists, artists, filmmakers, and probably all of the above in all kinds of packaging. Anyone who takes an idea, a concept, and shares it in words, pictures, sounds, or visuals for others to share. That's my take on content creators. And the world needs more content creators. And every technology, every media you can concoct requires creative content creators with something to say. So I think you are in a very exciting category, no matter what kind of a podcast that you develop. Marshall McLuhan said that all new media consume the media that came before it, and that becomes the content. So when television, of course, came along, the content was radio and film. And the internet, of course, has in turn consumed radio, film, television as really critical content for it. So nothing gets thrown out, it gets recycled, or as it's known today, repurposed, so to speak. So my first question is, what impact do content creators have on news coverage? Let's talk about news coverage. More and more television newscasts, of course, now are relying upon iReports, iReporters, meaning anybody with a flip cam, basically. I'm waiting to see a new course, by the way, being marketed, I'm sure it'll come out, called How to Take Your Superbly Shot Professional Video and Turn It Into an Irresistible iReport by adding shaky, chalked up video slightly out of focus, as seen on CNN. So here are the 5 rules of communications that I believe have relevance for content creators. Number 1, know who your audience is. Do you listen to them, understand their needs and their motives, or are you just guessing? Don't try to be all things to all people. Of course, in the political world, I always think of when I say that statement, you know, Paul Martin does spring to mind, because Paul Martin used to actually say when he was Minister of Finance, you know, very, very impressive Minister of Finance, my gosh. He used to go around the country saying, you know, any government that has 100 priorities is a government that has no priorities. So, of course, he gets into power, you know, as Prime Minister, and this is a very, very important priority for all Canadians. It's just a very, very important priority. Everything was an important priority. So, exactly the opposite of what he spent 9 years as Minister of Finance out there, you know, gaining a lot of credibility with the Canadian public. So, it's always been one of those kind of very strange things. But knowing who your audience is, what they're motivated, you know, what really motivates them, and why they want to listen to you, why they want to engage with you. Number 2, reach them at a deeper level, and they will develop a strong loyalty to you. A narrow vein, deeply mined will gush forever. And please, I won't mention BP again, but I did. But if you know, rather than trying to be 100 things to 100 different people, try to be, you know, a mile wide and a quarter inch deep, figure out where is my niche in all of this. Because it's your, actually, when you think about it, it's the niche you develop that will be the greatest strength of your podcast. The more specific, precise, focused it is, the better. Because you're up against the juggernaut of all communications outlets around the world. And to find yours, it's because you do something unique, you do it different, you do it right, and it has meaning, even if it's narrow, it has a more profound meaning to people than if it's too wide. Number 3, ask yourself, what is my content really about? What is this really about? As I'm doing a podcast on my story, on my life, on my experience with my family, etc., in the end, what is this really about? It's like they say with screenplays, well-written screenplay, good plot, but what is it really about? That's a question only you can answer. And you need to think very carefully, what is this really about? And as has been said on a number of podcasts, it's really helping us. There is something in that podcast that is helping me either feel that I'm not alone, feeling that what I'm doing is valuable in its effort, even if it isn't quite the outcome I want, that I'm on the right kind of journey. People want to feel there's something of deeper value. They always say, about the Seinfeld show, it's a show about nothing. That's true. It was. It was a show about nothing, except for one major difference. There were real characters in there that we developed a relationship with. We felt they were unique. We felt we got them. And yes, we laughed our heads off, but there was something that made us connect to them. It wasn't just the laughs. They were believable people. So ultimately, great content is about we, the audience. It's not just about you. It's about us. Number 4, the communicator is as important as the content. And I already mentioned about Kretze would be the example of somebody, in the end, the perception of Kretze, I think I got tired near the end, but in his prime doing it, he did have, people were able to kind of read and connect with him. So the communicator does matter, who you are, and therefore not be afraid of sharing who you are. I think that's really important. Share your vulnerabilities as well as your strengths. And I think people really relate to that. Number 5, listen at least as much as you speak or write. Someone once said, you have two ears and one mouth, use them in proportion. So how do you find an opportunity through your podcast, through your creative content, to listen to people? And because we like watching and listening to them and reading them also. So how do you engage them? So in summary, as content creators, you play a role in, of course, new media. But increasingly, you play a powerful role in traditional media as well. As you see the lines becoming more and more blurred, it's harder now to see even the separate channels. They are blurring and merging. So it's not just about you. It's about those with whom you engage. So if your message and your topic are relevant, they will find an audience. Work on your communication skills. I mean, verbals and nonverbals, they're still powerfully important. A UCLA study on communicating on video said that 55% of the believed message comes from the nonverbal source. They read into your nonverbals character, believability, credibility. 38% of the believed message comes from your tone and attitude. And only 7% comes from the verbal. For those of you audio podcasting, same UCLA project said that in a purely audio experience, that 84% of the believed message comes from tone and attitude, and only 16% comes from the verbals, what you actually say. So it goes back to what I'm talking about. It's the full picture, it's the full package that is what you're connecting with your audiences. So finally, remember, if you don't have anything nice to say, make sure you speak clearly into the microphone. Thank you. Thank you.